I meet a 24-year-old director fresh out of film school. He cast me in my first movie, which is his first film as well.
Most people think they know everything about John Singleton's 1991 masterpiece, but the behind-the-scenes secrets are absolutely mind-blowing. From actors who were actually living their characters' harsh realities to bizarre on-set incidents that will completely shock viewers, Boyz and the Hood hide secrets that are genuinely stranger than fiction itself. What if these movie secrets could change how people see this famous film forever? Are the shocking facts about the movie really true? Join us as we reveal these shocking truths that will change how this classic film is seen forever. Father-son, age gap. Boyz and the Hood shows Lawrence Fishburne as the wise father Furious Styles teaching his teenage son Trey about surviving the tough streets of South Central Los Angeles. This father-son relationship looks completely real on screen. But here's the crazy part. Fishburne was only 7 years older than Cuba Gooding Jr. during filming in 1990. The age difference is tiny when considering what these characters stand for. Furious is supposed to be an experienced older man who became a father early and learned tough lessons over many years in the neighborhood. He is meant to have decades of street wisdom and life experience that he passes down to his son. He had to act like someone much older and wiser than he actually was. He was 29, while Gooding Jr. was 22. Yet on screen, he comes across as this seasoned father figure with years of hard-earned knowledge about surviving in South Central L.A.
You do that stink now? Got something on me?
Yeah, supposed to, yeah.
This casting choice tells a lot about how good acting can make people believe almost anything. Director John Singleton cared more about finding the right person for each role than matching real ages. The result was one of the most convincing father-son relationships ever put on film, even though the actors could have been college friends in real life. Talking about movie magic, the authenticity that the cast brought to the show was amazing, and the unusual casting choice was not particularly unusual for the film industry at the time, but it shows just how much viewers accept without question. Fishburne's memorable performance as Furious became one of the most iconic father figures in cinema history, and when they were interviewed, what most of the cast members agreed about was that sometimes the best casting decisions are the ones that look completely weird on paper but work perfectly on screen when talented actors bring their skills to bear. But the father-son age gap was not the only strange casting choice that John Singleton made for this film. People find it hard to believe that another family relationship in the movie had an even smaller age difference. How did Tyra Ferrell pull being a mother off on the show? The casting drama. The casting choices in Boyz and the Hood created another strange age situation that most people never notice while watching the movie because the performances are so convincing. Tyra Ferrell, who played Brenda Baker, the tired single mother trying to raise her two completely different sons in South Central Los Angeles, was only 7 years older than both Ice Cube and Morris Chestnut, the actors who played her children Doughboy and Ricky. What this means is that when filming started, Ferrell was basically playing the mother of two men who were almost the same age as her in real life. Ice Cube was 21 years old during filming, while Morris Chestnut was 22.
Watch your mouth.
Just playing.
All right, enjoy. And be nice.
And Tyra Ferrell was 28, making the age differences between them extremely small for a mother-son relationship. In the actual story, Brenda is supposed to be a woman who had her children when she was very young, and has spent many difficult years dealing with the constant stress of raising them in a dangerous neighborhood filled with violence and poverty. However, the real age gap between the actors made this family dynamic even more compressed than what the script originally suggested. What makes this unusual casting choice even more interesting and impressive is how convincingly Ferrell managed to pull off playing the exhausted mother. In several scenes throughout the movie, she has to discipline Ice Cube's character Doughboy by telling him he's just like his father and will never amount to anything meaningful, while also showing clear favoritism toward Morris Chestnut's character, Ricky, who she sees as her family's ticket out of poverty through his promising football talents and academic potential. But the unusual casting choices didn't stop with age gaps between family members. Singleton also made decisions that brought real-life experiences directly into the film in ways that most directors would never consider. What happens when the line between acting and reality completely disappears? Chris's wheelchair was real. One of the strongest and most real parts of Boyz n the Hood is how it shows what really happens when people get hurt by gun violence. And this is most true with the character Chris, played by Reggae Green. In the movie, Chris is one of Doughboy's friends who sits in a wheelchair because he got shot and can't walk anymore. What people watching the movie didn't know was that Green wasn't pretending to be disabled because he really was paralyzed from his waist down in real life. This choice to cast him made the movie much more real than most films could ever be, just by having actors pretend. Green's sad life story matches the violence shown in the movie in a way that makes his acting even stronger and more important. When he was only 6 years old and living in Richmond, California, he got caught up in a gun incident when two neighbors were fighting. One man grabbed him and used him to protect himself while another man started shooting, and a bullet hit Green, making him unable to walk for the rest of his life and changing everything about his future. The casting of Green was to show the harsh realities that many young people in communities like South Central Los Angeles faced every single day.
You can hoo-hoo through Cheerio. And fool, you ain't got to be skinny or sick.
Green had already been working as a professional actor since age 13, appearing in popular television shows like Different Strokes, Highway to Heaven, and After MASH before landing his role in Boyz n the Hood. So he brought both real experience and acting skills to the production. What makes Green's amazing story even more incredible and sad is that just 2 hours after he got shot and couldn't walk anymore, his father passed away from taking too many drugs, so he had to deal with the injuries and losing his dad at the same time. Even though these terrible things happened that would destroy most people, Green used his hard experiences to build his acting career and later became someone who gives speeches to motivate others, using his strong story to teach young people about pushing through difficult times. While Green's story shows how the film brought real experiences to the screen, the production faced dangers that went far beyond casting choices. What happens when real gang members decide they don't like how they're being shown in a movie? Ice Cube gang threats. Filming Boyz n the Hood in the actual streets of South Central Los Angeles brought an unexpected and dangerous level of realism to the production when real gang members began threatening the cast and crew during shooting. The most serious threat came when members of the Bloods gang targeted Ice Cube specifically because they were upset about how their gang was being portrayed in the film, and they made it clear that they were not responsible if someone actually shot the rapper-turned-actor for showing them in a negative light. The trouble came from a single scene in the film. Doughboy, played by Ice Cube, unalives a member of the Bloods gang during a drive-by shooting. The local Bloods gang watched this being filmed on their streets and did not like what they saw. They believed the movie would hurt how people saw them once it hit theaters nationwide. Since the crew was shooting in their actual territory instead of a studio lot, gang members felt disrespected and targeted. The scene showed their rivals, the Crips, getting revenge and coming out on top. They knew audiences across the country would watch this and form opinions about their organization based on how they were portrayed. For them, it was not just entertainment, it was their real lives being put on screen. The members of the gang even had talks with some crew members and told them how they saw the movie as taking sides in an ongoing conflict, and they weren't happy about being cast as the bad guys who get shot. The director and the production team took these threats seriously enough that they had to change at least one filming location to avoid potential violence and keep everyone safe. The gang member who issued the warning against Ice Cube made it clear that while he was not planning to hurt the actor himself, he could not guarantee that other members would not take action if they felt their gang was being disrespected by the film's portrayal. This real danger made an already difficult shoot even more tense in a neighborhood where violence happened every day for people living there. the fact that Ice Cube used to be in NWA, a rap group that became famous for songs about gang life and street violence, made everything more complicated and dangerous for everyone working on the movie. The threats made people realize how seriously local gang members cared about how they were shown in movies and TV. They saw the movie as more than just entertainment because it was being filmed in their actual neighborhood and had actors who came from similar backgrounds and experiences. After getting threats and getting into fights with local gang members, the film crew asked for a van to be parked right behind them while they shot scenes. But even with this protection, what happened next would test just how far they were willing to go for authentic footage. The production safety. Director John Singleton later said in his DVD commentary that after one particularly dangerous fight on set, there was a real threat from these local gang members, which made the crew take this unusual safety step that most Hollywood productions never think about. The van was placed carefully so that if shooting started suddenly, the cast and crew would have immediate cover to dive behind and protect themselves from bullets. While many filmmakers might have chosen to recreate South Central on a comfortable soundstage or film in a different area entirely for safety reasons, Singleton insisted on shooting in the actual streets where these real stories happened every day. This choice made the film much more real than anything a studio could create, but it also meant the fake violence in the movie and the real violence happening around them became dangerously close. Cuba Gooding Jr. later said there were fights on set every day during filming, making the Shield van necessary equipment instead of just extra protection for worried producers. The fact that a major Hollywood movie needed to plan for actual gunfire while making a film about gun violence shows how well the movie captured what life was really like in that community during the early 1990s, when gang violence was everywhere. This came with a big technical problem that forced the production team to completely re-record most of the dialogue later in expensive studio time. The background noise of police helicopters flying over the neighborhood and actual gunshots from real street violence made it impossible to get clean audio during filming, turning what should have been simple dialogue scenes into a sound engineer's nightmare. While Singleton dealt with these harsh realities during production, his journey to making this groundbreaking film actually started years earlier with much simpler beginnings. But how did a basic film school assignment turn into one of the most important movies ever made about urban America? Singleton Movie Secrets. The movie that would become Boyz n the Hood started with a totally different title that gives no clue about the famous name it would eventually have, or the impact it would make on cinema. When John Singleton was applying to film school at USC, one of the requirements on the application form asked students to describe 3 ideas for films they might want to make, and one of the concepts he submitted was called Summer of '84. By the time Singleton made his film, he'd learned to study what worked in other movies and make those techniques his own. The influence of Stand By Me goes all the way to the final moments of Boyz n the Hood, where Singleton borrowed a storytelling technique that hits viewers hard emotionally. In Stand By Me, the adult narrator thinks about his childhood friends, while the young version of his character slowly disappears from the screen, creating a strong feeling of time passing and childhood ending forever. Singleton used this same visual method with Ice Cube's character Doughboy, who fades out of the final scene, as the audience learns through text that he was murdered just 2 weeks after the events they just watched. Director John Singleton made a short but memorable appearance in his own film that most viewers completely miss during their first viewing of Boyz n the Hood because it happens so naturally. He shows up as a postal worker wearing a full mailman uniform, complete with the official cap and sunglasses, who arrives to deliver letters to the Baker family home. The cameo happens during one of the film's more dramatic family moments when the 2 brothers are engaged in a heated confrontation that shows their different personalities. While Ice Cube and Morris Chestnut are being emotional, Singleton walks calmly through the scene in his postal uniform, hands the mail directly to their mother Brenda, and then disappears. Singleton's choice to show up as a mailman was really smart for the film. Having mail delivered during a family fight was exactly the kind of everyday thing that would happen in real life, making his appearance feel normal instead of forced or show-offy like some director appearances can be. The timing of the scene also adds extra meaning to Singleton's appearance since mail delivery stands for a connection to the outside world and possibly better opportunities beyond the neighborhood where the characters live. What do you think about John Singleton's decision to cast Regé Green, who was actually paralyzed in real life, to play the wheelchair-bound character Chris instead of using an able-bodied actor? Do you think filmmakers should risk their cast and crew's safety by shooting in dangerous neighborhoods with real gang threats? Or should they prioritize everyone's well-being and film somewhere safer? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the next video showing on your screen. You will enjoy it.